getting in the green. We got DraftKings Week 1 right here. Great Thursday night game, and football's finally here.
Yeah, we couldn't be more excited to do some DraftKings. Real quick, I do want to give us a shout out for Thursday. We had a hell of a start to the season. Pretty much our main calls, and we did get some DraftKings in for Thursday night. We were high on Antonio Brown. We were high on Amari Cooper, and we liked Gronk and Tom. So really, the only person we didn't highlight was Godwin there, but we pretty much hit all the money in our Thursday nights, and also, we were also talking a lot of season-long draft formats for some of those guys. So I know I've got a large amount of Antonio Brown in my season-long draft. So a promising start to my prediction there for his season. So good Thursday. But without further ado, let's get into some DraftKings. We're gonna go position by position here. So the way we normally do our breakdowns is we go one position at a time. We talk about the value plays at that position, and then we kind of let you decide where you want to spend your money. We're going to talk about if you want to spend top dollar on this position, here's the guys we're looking at, and here's why they make value. If you want to go medium at this position, here's the guys, and if you're looking for the bargain bin, here's who we're looking at. So
yep, and we'll give you guys who we like, tournament versus cash, and definitely some stacks that we're looking at for the tournament plays. So, yeah, let's dive into quarterbacks first. And this week, we got the most games you'll see all year before the buys get started. We got 13 games on the main slate. A lot of good options here. So,
start with the top. Let's go that somebody wants to spend on one of the top guys. Who are you looking at, and kind of like the price per point there? Who do you think is going to bring the best value for us?
Yeah, look, if you can afford them, I think Patrick Mahomes will light up Kansas City. A lot of talk on the Cleveland defense. It's hard to stop that Kansas City offense when they're rolling, though. I have a hard time playing him at 8,100 just because there's some guys much cheaper. But, yeah, of the top dogs, he's going to score. I think a lot of people are on Josh Allen's got a really high ownership projection. I don't love the matchup with Pittsburgh as much as some other people. So I'm going to be fading Allen. Kyler Murray's a little interesting to me, but because you get the running ability. But I don't know. Tennessee's defense isn't terrible, and again, you're paying up a premium. I do like some Russell Wilson against Indy.
Yeah,
I'll have a little bit of ownership of him later on.
Yeah, I'm with you. I know a lot of the sites and the projections definitely love Mahomes this week as far as him making value at 8,100. I like Mahomes. I don't think you can possibly go wrong with Mahomes. I'm not sure if I'm going to spend my 8,100 there. I don't think there's going to be a huge gap between him and some of the top guys, and he is the top quarterback from a price perspective. Also, just to go a little deeper into Mahomes, like me and Corey were talking about separately off camera earlier, both of us kind of feel like Kansas City could blow out Cleveland, where we are going to have a high-scoring game. It's going to be a fun game. I don't think it's going to be as competitive as kind of the line makers and everybody else thinks. And if they get a lead, that does hurt Mahomes' value. He might not have the foot on the gas pedal the whole game. So there's a little bit of a concern there. If you think that game's going to be extremely competitive all the way till the end of the fourth quarter, very much like Thursday night's game, then he's got some value. But I kind of lean more for the top-end guys, especially when you look at $1,100 difference. I like Russell Wilson. I think Indy's a little banged up. I also think Russell's going to have a career year this year, and I think he's going to start off guns a-blazing, gung-ho. He's got great receivers. I like Russell. And even at the top, I feel like Arizona, Tennessee has just as much shootout potential as Cleveland, Kansas City. And Kyler Murray is going to get obviously some yards on the ground. I think I like Kyler Murray and Russell Wilson. If I'm spending top dollar, those are the two I'm looking at.
Yeah, Wilson also gets a bump. Indy's top DB's out for the game. They got nobody to cover DK. Lockett should eat across the middle. Also, if you're looking stacks, a lot cheaper to get like a Lockett DK stack going with Russell than it is to do Mahomes, Hill, Kelsey kind of thing going on.
Yeah, and then for an avoid, which even though he's a little bit lower than the top dogs, this pains me because I'm a Chargers fan, but I'm going to say you fade Justin Herbert this week. I don't think he's going to do bad. In season-long football, I'm still probably going to play him on my starting lineup. I think he's got a tough matchup. Eckler's a little banged up. I really think he's going to get some points. He's going to feed Keenan Allen. I like Keenan Allen as possession receiver in this game. But other than that, it's going to be a little bit lower scoring than I expect most Chargers games to be this year. I probably would not spend the money on a DraftKings-like format or FanDuel on Herbert this week.
Yeah, and right below Herbert, we're looking at Tannehill and Hurts. Those are two of my top quarterbacks for this week that I'm going to try and get as much of as I can. I think Tannehill runs a little bit more of a risk. Henry can steal his touchdowns. But as far as a weak Arizona secondary, you get the addition of Julio. Probably wants to make a statement week 1.
Yep.
Definitely could see Tennessee lighting it up in the air. But my play of the week by far is going to be Hurts.
Yeah.
I think he can run one in. He gives you that advantage with the rushing. And that Philly-Atlanta game is one of my highest projected totals for the week. Yeah. I just think it might be a shootout both ways. Two bad teams, and neither of them can run the football. So.
I'm pretty sure Atlanta was the worst ranked defense against quarterbacks for fantasy points last year. So I like Hurts a lot, especially that he has the dual threat going on. I expect him to at least have 2 touchdowns, if not 3, and he's going to rack up at least 50 yards rushing. So strong play. He is probably my most played quarterback right at that sweet spot. I consider him mid-tier as far as spending goes at the 6,400. I'm going to have a couple lineups with some of the top guys we just mentioned, but for the most part, I am heavily leaning in the mid-tier to low-tier for quarterbacks this week because I think your dollars go a lot farther in the other skill positions. Mid-tier, anybody else you really think is a must talk about in mid-tier? I think that's it for me in the middle.
Yeah, you might be able to sprinkle in some Joe Burrow, Matt Ryan if you if you're feeling that they're going to take advantage of those games with the high scoring. But I'm fading Baker Mayfield. Odell's not 100%. Kansas City's got an underrated defense. I don't know if he's going to score as much as people think. Big Ben scares me against Buffalo's defense.
Yeah, I'm not touching him. I do like Trevor Lawrence. I'd like him, though. When I say I like Trevor Lawrence, I like him to have a good week, and I like him from a season-long fantasy perspective. I'm not spending $6,200 when I can go get Jalen Hurts for $64.
Yeah.
Under no circumstances. But I think Lawrence is going to have a hell of a showcase for his first NFL game. I think it's a great matchup for him. However, carries a lot of risk being a rookie quarterback and a lot of unknowns and variables in that offense. But a little bit of a sleeper pick there. I think he could have a good game.
Yeah, there's a couple guys down here at the bottom, though, definitely worth looking at. I'm on the Sam Darnold revenge game. I think he could have a pretty big game there at home against the Jets. Jets' defense is poor. The Jets are poor. Darnold's got plenty of weapons, and I definitely like stacking him with Robbie Anderson that he's getting back with.
Yeah, I like Sam Darnold. I think you're spot on there. He's got a great matchup, and he is cheap. He's coming in all the way at $5,000. Another guy, you do have to have a little bit of a risk tolerance here, but just a guy that could win you the tournament is, I think, Jameis Winston at $5,200. He's a guy that when he's the starting quarterback, he throws bombs from a fantasy perspective. He scores. He gets touchdowns. Now, with that being said, New Orleans definitely is hurting on weapons. Michael Thomas is obviously out. They're banged up. But, Kamara and Sean Payton at the head as a coach, I think they could not miss a beat. I think Green Bay is definitely going to score on them, so they're going to have to be airing it out. Jameis is a little bit of a sleeper there at $5,200 with a lot of potential. I do think Darnold's probably a little bit safer from a matchup perspective, but I like him as well. And then if you're going to go real cheap, I don't hate Teddy Bridgewater at $4,800. I think he gets a lot of hate, but I didn't think he actually looked too bad in Carolina last year. He's got probably better weapons in Denver with Judy and Sutton and Noah Fant than he did last year. So very similar. little bit of a sleeper at 4,800. I don't think he has boom potential. I think he could easily sneak in there right around 18 to 20 points, and maybe make that up at a different position. But I don't hate him down there at 4,800.
Yeah, I do want to talk about a fade here. I know a lot of people are starting to trend the Mac Jones ownership projections are going up.
Yeah.
I'm fading that game. Look, even if I just don't see the upside. I know he's 4,400, but there's a lot of value at the other positions this week, and I'm not dropping that far down for quarterbacks.
I'm with you, and I believe in Mac Jones talent-wise. I think he's good. But like you said, I think this is just a tough matchup. I don't think either team's scoring. I think New England is going to be pounding the rock. So not only does that just generally take away Mac Jones' value, it also makes the game go a hell of a lot faster. I think this is going to be defensive stops, a lot of running, just an ugly smash mouth type of football game. I agree. Mac Jones is getting a lot of love on the points per cost there, point value there. I don't see it. I'm much more comfortable with even the other guys I mentioned in the Winston or
Winston Darnold
or even Fitzpatrick. Bridgewater too. But okay, yeah, that's kind of our main. But with that being said, Hurts is who we are strongest on all week. We think he's the sweet spot of a good price and has some serious upside and a high floor as well. If we're going lower end, I think I'm going to speak for both of us here. I think Darnold's probably our favorite on the low end.
Yeah.
Probably Darnold on the low end. Most popular is going to be Hurts. Top dog, like I said, I'm not playing too much. If I had to lean that way, I'm probably going to go spend $7,000 on Russell Wilson.
Yeah, and big one. I know he's got the second highest ownership percentage. Josh Allen's a big fade for me.
Yeah.
If you especially tournaments, you want to be different. You want to kind of get away from the guys if you don't think it's 100%. He's trending at like 18 to 20% ownership for Josh Allen, and I could see definitely having a bust. I know he's got monster numbers all last year. I think Pittsburgh tries to establish the run here. This game goes a little slower than people might think, and I don't think Josh Allen gets you the value.
Yep, agreed. All right, let's move on to running backs. All right, let's start on the high end. And
yeah, who do you like up here at the top?
You got the first guy. I mean, it's a tough one because he is just so expensive this week. But Christian McCaffrey is 9,500, the most expensive player on DraftKings. He's going to have an ownership percentage between 20 and maybe even 35%, maybe even 40, depending on which tournament you're in. It's a tough one. I personally think he is too expensive and will not make full value of 9,500. But with that being said, he also he's gonna score well, and he's an extremely safe player to score 20 to 25 fantasy points. So he's gonna be highly played. He's got a great matchup against the Jets. If you are willing to spend here and really go for bargains, I don't think he's a bad play. I think he will come close to value. I don't quite think he makes it, but just be aware, probably the highest scorer in fantasy, which is McCaffrey on the year, is going to have a 30 to 40% ownership. You can take advantage of that depending on how you view his general value. I'm definitely going to be playing some McCaffrey, but I don't think, when I look at the difference in my lineups when I play him versus when I take one of the mid-tier or even the just slightly cheaper top-tier guys, I think I'm going to fade him. For example, Kamara, even at 8,600, to save $900 in value there.
Yeah.
I don't think there's as big of a difference than $900. I think Kamara is going to be the workhorse. I think he is going to catch well over 4 receptions, 4, 5, 6 receptions. I think he's going to get some touchdowns. So I like Kamara better than I like McCaffrey at the top. But Carolina and McCaffrey do have a good matchup, and he will be highly played.
Yeah, McCaffrey's going to be owned a lot. Kamara, New Orleans likes to attack Green Bay's linebackers. I think he had 13 receptions last time they played last year. Obviously, that was with Drew Brees dropping off to him, not Jameis Winston.
He had a monster game. I think he had like 45 fantasy points against Green Bay last year.
Yeah, he went off. And, I mean, the one thing I'm worried about in that game, definitely everybody needs to keep an eye on, is rain in Jacksonville. They moved that game. If that was in the Dome in New Orleans, I'd be all over Kamara in that New Orleans offense.
Yep.
In the rain, neutral field. It's tough to pay. I mean, I'm definitely going to sprinkle in some Kamara, but I could also see that offense having a hard time moving the ball. Jameis is, for as good as he is as a gunslinger, he's inconsistent with his passing, and he doesn't have the weapons. I mean, we'll dig into it later. I know Callaway's the most owned player on fantasy, but he's got a hell of a matchup with the number one DB in football. So, yeah, I mean...
And I think we're going to get into it in a second. We really like our value running backs this week.
Yeah, I was going to say, I have 6 running backs down there later on that I'm having a hard time fitting them all in.
Yeah.
So I'm definitely going to, my ownership percentage is going to be right there in the middle.
I'll say my top fades at the top end, for pretty obvious reasons. The first 2 I'm going to name, it's just pure injury concerns, are going to be Eckler and Barkley.
Yeah.
Definitely not taking that risk. Don't know if they're 100%. For a completely healthy guy that I'm personally fading, I know he could have a good game. It's more I need to see how this offense is going to go with Wentz, is Jonathan Taylor. I'm not comfortable spending $8,000 on Taylor in a game that I think they're going to be losing and have to be throwing when I just haven't seen how this offense is going to flow. I haven't seen how Hines is going to be used this year. If I think they're going to be down and trailing, how much work does Hines get being the pass-catching back? So unless you just have that gut feeling that Taylor's going to pick up right where he left off last year at the end of the season, because he did finish strong. I need to see what Carson Wentz looked like under center and that offensive line.
All right, let's move into that middle tier, and this is kind of where we're having a hard time picking. But let's start with Aaron Jones. I think has a premium matchup there. Yep. New Orleans has a decent run defense, but the departure of Jamal Williams, Aaron Jones is going to get all the touches he can handle.
It's just an upside thing, you know what I mean? There's, for a mid-tier price at $6,800, this is a guy who probably 3 or 4 times a year for the last 2 to 3 years has a 40 or 50-point scoring game. This is a guy that has that boom potential of McCaffrey and those guys, but he's very safe, and we're paying way undervalued for him there.
Yeah, really like him for tournament play. I'll probably have a little less of him in cash.
Yep.
But, yeah, as far as tournaments go, at $6,800, he could definitely be the top scorer of the week.
Exactly.
Clyde Hilaire, I'm probably not touching him. He has the boom, but, I mean, a lot of him still running on hype, and we haven't seen him produce at the level that kind of everyone expected last year. And
yep.
I need to see it a few weeks before, especially with the guys that are in this, in this grouping right here with them. I'm probably going to be fading Hilaire as far as the 6,000 guys go.
Agreed. Yeah, I mean, I'm living right in this area. I'm living in that 5,800 to 6,800. That, for running backs, I just don't see a need to go higher than that because of the value you're getting. We already mentioned Aaron Jones. Next guy on my list is James Robinson.
Mm-hmm.
Jacksonville, basically he's the top dog again. Etienne got hurt. He's not competing with anyone for touches. He's not competing with anyone for catches. They're playing Houston, who's the god-awful team, one of the worst teams, the worst team in the NFL, has the worst rush defense.
Detroit's up there.
That's true. We'll see how that plays out. But I love him this week. I think Trevor Lawrence gives him a boost, not hurts him. I think the actual threat of downfield passing is going to make him even better. I like James Robinson a lot. Not only this week, I feel like I probably undervalued him in my drafts for season long. I think he's going to start the season off with a bang, and he's going to be a valuable guy as the season goes on.
He's great. He catches some passes, and he's got some boom. And that offense is going to move the ball finally. For $100 more is my guy I'm super high on this week is Miles Sanders. I'm buying the hype. I think he's got the most boom for the guys down here. He could definitely go off in that Atlanta game. He runs a little more risk, so I'm going to have a lot more of him in tournament than I do in cash. But if he pans out, he's definitely got a super high ceiling.
Yeah, we've had this discussion a few times. I think Corey's a little higher on Miles Sanders for the season than I am. However, I lean the same way that Corey does. Ultimately, I think he will work out and will be a boom and be a steal over the year. For me, I just think, like you mentioned, there is a lot of risk with him. I kind of see two outcomes with Miles Sanders. Either he's the guy we think he is, and it's going to look like LaShawn McCoy's back in Philadelphia, crafty runner, catches balls, and he's going to be a steal. Or the opposite's going to happen, and Boston Scott's going to get all the catches. He's going to carry on first and second down. The offensive line's not great, and he's going to be a bust. So, personally, for me, even with the great matchup with Atlanta, high-scoring game, I'm going to probably need to wait and see how it plays out. However, I see exactly what there. I do think there's boom potential, but I know you're higher on him because you've been preaching him all year. Next,
Najee Harris.
Next guy,
honestly, good price.
Yeah.
I don't love the game again. I mean, we talked about this with quarterbacks.
Yep.
He is going to get the ball though, and I'm paying $6,300 for a guy that's going to be a workhorse.
Yep.
You're not going to get hurt with Najee Harris.
I agree. I think he's safe. There is some upside. I don't love his upside this week because of the matchup. I think Pittsburgh's going to be down. I don't think at any point they're going to be comfortably winning this game and be able to pound the rock. They're going to be down. Ben's going to have to be throwing.
Yep.
If you think he's going to get those drop-offs just like a Le'Veon or even a Connor did, he's got value. He's got value. I probably want to see it first with the rookie. I know he actually caught a couple passes in preseason. He actually looked pretty good catching the ball. So there's some upside there. But, yeah, generally speaking, I don't love the matchup. I think I like the guy right underneath him quite a bit more, and that's Joe Mixon. You know, I think Mixon is really not getting enough respect this year. I really like his matchup against Minnesota, and it's mostly he's just going to be a workhorse. I think he is the focal point of the offense. Joe Burrow can air it out. They got three great receivers. That's going to open up some holes for him. I know the offensive line's still struggling, but Joe Mixon's never played with a good offensive line, and he's looked good. So the biggest kind of hit people had on Joe Mixon, other than the injury concern, was Giovanni Bernard, where Mixon's not catching as many passes. They have a third down back they use a lot. Giovanni Bernard's gone. Mixon's going to be in every play. He's going to catch an endless amount of passes. He's going to be on an offense that I think is going to move the ball with a defense that's going to be crappy to where they're going to be scoring. It's going to be go, go, go. I like him a lot. I think he's safe because of the catches and the usage. And I think he has boom potential because I think he's a really, really talented runner on a talented offense. So,
and they're going against a pretty bad run defense, too. I think Anthony Barr might be out this week as well.
Yeah.
It's a dark horse game, too, for a shootout. Minnesota-Cincinnati's just not getting the respect it should.
Yep.
Yeah, I like Mixon. Scrolling down, here's a couple guys that I like for the season. I don't love for week one. And we got Gaskins against New England. I'm not touching.
Yeah, slow game. We already touched on that with the quarterbacks. We just don't see it.
Carson against Indy. Darius Leonard, middle linebacker there in Indy. They play the run really well. I won't be touching too much Carson.
Yeah.
Gibson, man, again, tough game. He definitely has the potential. Curtis Samuel out week one. And he's going to get touches. He catches the ball. J.D. McKissick on third down scares me a little bit.
Yeah.
I won't be playing too much of him, but Gibson does have some massive upside.
Like his value. Absolutely like his value, and I think he's safe because he's just like Najee Harris, Joe Mixon. He will get the usage. Even with McKissick stealing some third down. The guy's going to get the usage where $5,900 for a guy who has potential. I do like it. But you're right. Generally, it's the game. It's the Chargers-Washington game. It's going to be a little bit slower, a little bit lower scoring than some of these other games. So I agree. Although I do think Gibson is a talented guy and $5,900 is too cheap for him. I like him. I don't love him. Yeah.
Now here's the guy that is either going to be a must-play or not.
But it's our guy.
This is Mostert against Detroit.
That's our guy all year long.
Mostert's going to go off here.
Yep.
I'm not worried about Trey Sermon stealing his carries. The only thing that scares me is if they get up 21-0 on Detroit, because Detroit's not going to score.
Yep.
Do they start to limit his carries, limit his workload, because he does have the risk of injury? Yeah, man, I'm all in on Raheem Mostert getting 2 touchdowns here, though.
Me too. I mean, look, Mostert, with Antonio Brown was my two guys that were must drafts in season long. You're getting Detroit, one of the worst teams and one of the worst run defenses, week one. If there's any concern about Sermon Mostert, like people were having for season long, it's not going to be happening in week one. Guy's a must play for me. Out of every running back we just mentioned, I think Mostert will be my most played running back. Maybe second would be James Robinson there. But Mostert's a must play for me. It's the best matchup. Talent for talent, explosiveness. Mostert's, up there with anybody in the NFL. I think his top speed recorded was tied only with Tyreek Hill. So we're talking about one of the most explosive players in the NFL. He's healthy right now. He's on a dynamic offense that San Francisco, even when they sucked, they run the ball well. They have great line. It's part of Shanahan's offense. Couldn't be a better matchup. I think he's a steal at 5,800. And he is such a steal that it literally will make me, I'm not going to spend top dollar when I can get a Mostert who I think will score over 20 points this week, and I'm not spending
$4,000 more from McCaffrey.
Exactly.
Yeah, real quick, we'll touch on a couple of these other guys here down at the bottom if you want to take some shots. Mike Davis, safe play, lacks the boom. But if you're playing cash and you want to cheap...
He gets the usage.
He gets the usage, and he's running back 1, and running back 2 is Cordarrelle Patterson, so nobody's taking the carries from that guy.
Yep.
And then there's one more down here that, it just depends what you think of him, but Chase Edmonds is at $4,600. He's going to catch passes.
I think he has huge boom potential for a tournament. Chase Edmonds will not be in any of my cash games because I do not know how the Connor Edmonds will go. In tournaments, though, I love him. I think it's a high-scoring game. I don't think they're going to be rushing. I think it's going to be nonstop trying to score. Tennessee could very easily have the lead here. I think Edmonds is going to get a lot of play time, not just as a rusher, but as that pass catcher. He might even line up in the slot on certain plays.
Yeah.
A lot of usage, and he's got a game-breaking ability. He really is a Sproles type of player that in his prime where, this guy, if the game script goes his way, he get 2 touchdowns and 10 catches. So definitely a guy at 4,600 that could win you the whole tournament type of a player. Not safe. Lot of question marks with that running back committee and how it plays out, but I love him at 4,600. And if we're talking about potential, I like him so much more than Connor at 4,500 this week.
All right, let's move into receivers here, and this is the fun one this week.
A lot of options.
I know we'll touch on it real quick before we dive in. A lot of the ownership projections are leaning. People are going with the top dogs. They're skipping through the 6,000 to 4,000 guys, and they're dropping down to the very bottom of the barrel 3,000s because there's some value down there. Not necessarily the strategy I'm going to take here, but I definitely see it.
Yeah.
So we'll start right here. Let's cut this off at
go with the top. Where do you want to cut it off?
Yeah, let's cut it off at DK Metcalf.
7,500.
Yeah.
So we're going 7,500 to 8,300. There's about 10 receivers there.
7 receivers here to choose from. Adams, can't ever go wrong. Pure volume play. Guy might see 15 targets.
I like him. He is playing a tough defense.
He's playing a tough defense. Could there be some rust with Rodgers? Maybe.
Yeah.
I'm probably not paying for him. I'll have a little bit of him just in case. That guy...
He's a beast.
He's a beast, but not for the top guys, I think the next 3 have way better matchups as far as the defenses they're seeing. So, yeah, I'll touch a little Adams, but, if I had to choose, I'd probably go a little more Hill, Ridley, and Hopkins here right next in that next little.
Yeah. I'm just going to name everybody so we're on the same page with the listeners. So we have DK Metcalf, Stephon Diggs, Justin Jefferson, Hopkins, Ridley, Tyreek Hill, Devontae Adams. Obviously, these are top-notch guys. These are all basically first, second rounders in your season-long drafts. They're expensive. Out of this top tier, really the 2 that stick out to me with value, I like DeAndre Hopkins at 7,800. And it's really that matchup. We've already talked about that matchup. Tennessee, Arizona might be the top scoring game of the week. I expect the Cardinals to be down and be throwing. I think Kyler could have a big game there. You got rid of Larry Fitzgerald last year, a really big possession receiver. Hopkins was already a PPR machine. I expect a huge amount of targets and a huge amount of catches for Hopkins. If I'm paying, that's probably my number one. I'm paying $7,800 for Hopkins. If I'm not going Hopkins at that top tier, I'm looking at either DK Metcalf or Ridley. DK Metcalf, I like his game. I've already talked about Seattle and Russell, how I think they're going to score points. I think he's going to be a huge part of that. Now, with that being said, you obviously got Lockett on the other side. You never know who's going to go off. So there's a little bit of risk there. And then Ridley's a guy that, I mean, he's the top dog. Matt Ryan's been in Atlanta for a long time. I know they're running a slightly different offense. They assume that there's going to be a little bit more running this year. But they're playing the Eagles. They both have crappy defenses. He's going to be throwing. Who's he going to throw to? Kyle Pitts, who we'll speak about a little later. Rookie, has a lot of potential. But for all intents and purposes, Calvin Ridley's going to be getting the targets here. So I'd personally rather spend on Ridley. And I know this is going to sound crazy because he's got so much boom. You know, I mean, I probably would honestly fade. I don't know if I'd be paying for Tyreek Hill. And it has nothing to do with Tyreek Hill's skill. It's just, you know, when you're competing with Kelsey, I think Kelsey's really the wide receiver one there. As great as Tyreek Hill is, I think Tyreek Hill has absolute boom potential. Tournaments, he's a guy that can score 40 points. But I don't know if I'm spending $8,200 for a guy that just, they spread the ball around so much. They're so efficient. Is the running back going to score a couple touchdowns? Is Travis Kelce's definitely going to be the main touchdown target? Yeah. I'd rather spend on one of those other two. So top guys, my number one is above the rest, is going to be Hopkins. If you're not on Hopkins, I'd go Ridley or Metcalf, and I'd fade the other top guys personally. Not that they're not going to perform, just from how much you're spending, is it worth the value there?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to go against the grain a lot here, man. I think Tyreek Hill has a really, really risky game here, man.
Yeah.
I could see Cleveland controlling the clock, running the ball in that Kansas City defense, and trying to keep that, the ball out of Mahomes' hands. The last time they played, I think he ended up with like 8 for 110, no touchdowns.
Yep.
That's not enough at that price, especially this week.
Mm-hmm.
God, man, I'm just not. I'll have. Don't get me wrong. There's going to be a Mahomes Hill stack somewhere in my lineups, but for the most part, I'm going to fade Hill. Justin Jefferson is very highly owned. I don't love it. Thielen gets such a high red zone target there in Minnesota. Jefferson's going to be seeing the over-the-top coverage. He could go off. Anybody up here has boom potential, yes. But
let's make that clear.
You can't go wrong.
If you got a gut feeling about a guy or a game, we're not telling you not to play him. Everyone here's a safe fantasy player. We're talking about value on pricing.
Yeah, Jefferson, I don't love. I won't be touching any Diggs. And again, he's a volume guy. He gets as many targets as Devontae Adams. I mean, they feed that guy. But again, don't love the game. I like DK. Of all the top ones, I'd probably go DK. I think Seattle tears up that Indy secondary. And he's just an absolute specimen when he gets the ball.
Okay.
But for the most part, I'm going to fade the top dogs. I'm going to be living right in this middle range here.
Yeah, let's talk 7,100, which is the top is A.J. Brown.
Let's go down to 6,000.
Yeah, I was going to say, down to 6,000. So you got Jarvis Landry as your 6,000.
Yeah.
This range, we've already couldn't say enough about the game, but top two guys that stick out to me on the same team, A.J. Brown and Julio Jones.
Yep.
We already talked about how Tennessee Cardinals is going to be one hell of a shootout, one hell of a game. Cardinals secondary is terrible. It's banged up. It's one of the worst in the league. I was hoping that Julio had a major discount here because he was the new guy on the team. But he's 6,800. A.J. Brown's 7,100. Until I see Julio and his rapport with Tannehill, obviously Julio's just a freak athlete. But I'm going A.J. Brown.
Yeah,
I'm going heavy on 7,100. Now, that's not to say I still love Julio. I'm gonna play some Julio, and I think he easily could end up as the number one in this game. It's just before the game starts, we're talking about projecting to the best of our ability. It's trying to limit risk. We know what A.J. Brown does with Tannehill. We don't know what Julio does. We don't know how he's come back from some of these injuries. A.J. Brown is a safer play. I still love Julio in tournament play as well.
Yeah.
Maybe even both if you want to stack.
Yeah. A.J. Brown's definitely the best player at 7,100. He should absolutely get value.
And I really like A.J. Brown at 7,100. just as much as I like anybody all the way up to 8,300 with Devontae Adams. That's how much I like him in that game.
That's a great matchup at home, too.
Yep.
Let's talk. Thielen, not a bad play, but again, you're fighting Jefferson. I don't love his price. I thought he'd be a little cheaper than $7,000.
Yeah, a little bit too expensive.
Keenan Allen, I love. There's a couple things in this game that make me love Keenan Allen's. One is Eckler's a little banged up.
Yep.
Two is the Washington defensive line is phenomenal.
Yep.
And when you play teams that get pressure, you tend to throw the underneath route. You throw those quick routes a lot, and that's all Keenan Allen. Herbert's not going to have time to throw the deep up the field.
Exactly.
I think Keenan Allen could have double-digit receptions here. And even if he doesn't get you a touchdown, at 6,900, he could easily make value.
Yeah, I think that middle, that's short slant route, right to the middle, the quick pass. Keenan Allen already is one of the best route runners, receivers for that. And you're right, I think that's going to be there all day. As much as I think that game's going to be slow and I don't love it, Washington's not just going to stop the Chargers from moving the ball. And I think they're going to force feed Keenan Allen here. I think Eckler's dealing with the hamstring issue. Even if he plays, he's not going to be quite as explosive. They are going to look to lean on Keenan Allen here. I do like him. I will say his upside is slightly capped off a little earlier than it normally would be, so I don't think as many touchdowns will be thrown. But from a safe PPR guy, Keenan Allen's one of those guys, he's as safe as it gets almost every week, and I do like the matchup here.
Yeah, now looking at a couple of these guys, I love Lockett.
Yep.
If you think that Seattle's going to move the ball, that Russell Wilson stack we talked about earlier, great play. McLaurin with Samuel out, I guess, gets the boost. I got to see this guy really ball out before I, put him in there. He's playing a tough Charger secondary. I don't love him.
He's got value, but I don't love him either.
Then we got these Pittsburgh receivers here, and I'm not touching that.
That's my biggest fade of the wide receiver class, where you're looking at Juju Smith and Deontay Johnson at 62 and 6,300, and you have Lockett and Julio at 67 and 68. It's a no-brainer. Under no circumstances can you play those guys, the Pittsburgh receivers, over them. First off, it's the matchup. I don't like the matchup. You got Ben Roethlisberger coming out in interviews just in the last day or two, basically saying, hey, our offense might not look pretty for the first couple weeks of the season. Mm-hmm. That's a huge red flag to me. Ben's been in there long enough. He knows what the offense looks like. It means they're rusty. It means they're not ready to go. Second off, we don't even know which receiver is going to be the main guy. There's Chase Claypool. There's Juju. There's Deontay Johnson. Yep. I'm not paying for anybody till I figure out who's getting the targets. And finally, it's just a pure value thing. I think they're overpriced. There's guys that we just named right in that price range that are way better. So for me, it's not only am I fading this is my forbidden, do not play these guys this week. You just will be losing points. There's guys in that area that I'm positive are going to score more points than they are.
Yeah. Now looking, we got DJ Moore. Look, not a terrible play. I do like the Sam Darnold play there. I like Robbie Anderson better than DJ Moore. They turned DJ Moore into kind of their deep ball receiver last year. And they kind of made Robbie Anderson the stick guy. And look, he's got upside. Not a terrible play at 6,100, but I don't know. We'll see.
I like him. Don't love him, but I like him. I think he's safe. He's not a must play for me, but I have no problem with him, especially if you are stacking Darnold and think that game's going to be higher scoring than projected. I think he's safe there.
Landry and Beckham are in this next kind of tier, and it depends on Beckham's injury. If he plays, which they say they're going to announce right before the game, so that makes picking one of these guys kind of hard. Like, if Beckham's out, Landry should get value with his target share. I don't love the Cleveland receivers.
No. Yeah, I'm not playing that game. I need to see it. I still think even with them possibly being down, they're a run-first team. I think Hooper could get involved as well. So I really want to see who they're playing at receiver before I play one of those guys. Especially he's not cheap. $6,000 isn't cheap for Landry, so yeah. I'm not playing there.
I'm going to be honest, I don't think there's a $5,000 receiver I'm really interested in. I mean,
you know what? I'm going to speak quickly on, before we go too low, it depends on who you like on this team and how long you think Detroit can keep this competitive. There is value for Ayuk and Samuel at 5,700, 5,900. I think San Francisco's going to run them over. I think it's a great matchup. They are like the worst pass defense in the league. One of my concern, just like why we're we're not necessarily, we'll get there in a second, but why we're not going to be playing Kittle too much is we just think San Francisco's going to run them over so bad that whoever scores the first touchdown or two, that's going to be the only guy that scores, and then they're going to be pounding the rock, which is why we love Mostert so much. But there's value there. If you think, for example, if you just think Ayuk is the number one receiver there and is going to get all the love, then I do like him. He's gonna feast early. It's just the game script might not go his way. But I wanted to speak on that because it is a good matchup.
4,000s I like, though. So we got a couple. I'm just going to name a couple here, and then we can kind of go over them. Corey Davis.
Yep.
T. Higgins. Devontae Smith is probably my most owned wide receiver this week, and he's all the way down here at 4,500.
Yep.
Great matchup, with the Atlanta and the Hurts there. And then Pittman Jr. at 4,100, kind of round out the 4,000s. So those are the couple guys down there that I'm definitely going to be targeting.
Yeah, and you and me are huge on Devonta Smith, and we are playing a bunch of him. Probably too much, to be honest, because you and me just are in agreement on his upside. I do want to highlight the risk. Just like I spoke to Miles Sanders.
Rookie receiver, too.
There is risk. It's a rookie receiver. It's his first game. You and me are assuming he's the receiver one. He might not be. But he's just so cheap. For me, it was just a projection where I think he could be a little bit of a bust and still make value in the sense that he goes out there and catches 4 for 50, 4 for 60, something like that, and I can live with that all day. If he's the one and this game scores like we think he is, he could go off and be just the steal of week one. So I like him a lot. I think he's such, if anyone who watched him in college, they know this guy is, from a route running perspective, he reminds me of Antonio Brown.
Yeah, and Cooper.
And Amari Cooper. You're right. But it's so clean where, is he fast? Of course he's fast. Is he athletic? Of course he's athletic. Is he one of those guys that's the most freaky athletic receivers? No, he's not. But he's quick, and he's just precise in his routes, and it's such a valuable skill set to have for the quarterbacks, knowing when to get open. So I love him as the general potential. I think he's going to end up being the one, and he's cheap here, and he could be a steal there. I like him. It's somebody I have to mention for value here, especially if we're talking about tournaments, even though we've already thrown some hate his way. I got to mention Jalen Waddle here at 3,600. I didn't like him in season-long drafts. I thought he was going too early, and the reason was there's a big question mark on who will kind of establish themselves as the top receiver there, especially once Will Fuller's back from suspension for 1 week. However, in week one, it really is going to be Waddle and Devontae Parker. We've already spoke how we don't really like that game. It's not going to be high scoring. I think it very much caps his boom potential. But all the way down at 3,600, you could easily get a wide receiver one for a team and an extremely talented player and receiver. So not a must-play at all for me. I just wanted to mention him as if you are high on him, even me who was a little bit of a hater with where he was going in the draft, I do see a lot of value there at 3,600.
Yeah, a couple things. I mean, it depends what you think of the Denver wide receivers, but Jerry Jeudy's got great value here at 4,800. Yeah. Has potential to go off tournament play for sure, not touching him in cash. Well, let's just touch on Jamar Chase blaming the size of the football for why he can't catch.
That's a bullshit excuse.
Yeah, look, man, you had a year off. You should have started playing with NFL footballs. Like, exactly. I don't know.
Are you talking about you can't see the laces or something?
It's complete horse shit. I'm not touching Jamar Chase, even though he's the most talented receiver on that group.
Yeah, you got to wait and see.
And you got T. Higgins, who's a touchdown machine. $100 cheaper. So if you're going to touch a Cincinnati receiver, I like Higgins here.
Then let's talk about, we already talked about from an ownership standpoint, but let's go a little bit about our discussion on. We got Callaway at 3,400. On paper, when you first hear that name, you think that's a steal.
Yeah, I mean, a week ago you could have asked me, and I had him in every lineup.
Exactly. He's $3,400. He appears to be the number one. We already said that we liked Jameis Winston, and what's the problem? And he's going to have huge ownership. For us, we just think, sometimes people get a little bit too carried away with preseason. And Callaway did have a great preseason, and he clearly had a connection with Winston. But for me, preseason is preseason. I need to see this. I'm not saying I'm not going to play Callaway. I'll play him in a couple lineups. I'm not playing him in every one of my lineups, and I'm shocked that he's in 40% of ownership because, last year when Thomas went out, who was the number one? Traquan Smith and some other random guys. They spread the ball around. I'm not sold on Callaway. I need to see how this plays out. I'm not putting all my eggs in that basket. And even though I like Winston from a boom perspective steal, for all we know, Saints are going to come out
and
suck and barely move the ball on offense. I get why there's some love for him, but Green Bay has a pretty damn good defense.
Number one, also, Green Bay's rolling out the number one DB against fantasy wide receivers last year.
Yeah, exactly.
And look, Callaway had that 2-touchdown game. He was the preseason darling. Two great catches, by the way.
Yep.
You played against like a fifth-string DB that didn't even make the 53-man cut that game.
Exactly.
Look, this is there's levels to this.
Yeah.
And just because you go off in the preseason, you're not going off on a neutral field. Again, you're not at home. You're playing in Jacksonville. You're playing a great secondary. Look, yeah, they're going to probably be down. They're going to throw a lot. Could he make value at 3,400? For sure. But he's 40% owned. If you're in a tournament and you're trying to, get off of a high volume player, I'm fading Callaway.
Me too. I don't see him going off. I think he could maybe make value there, but I actually see huge potential to get an edge on the majority of people there, where if you didn't play him and he's 40% owned and you get another value play that outscores him, you're in great shape. And I'm just not sold on him there at 3,400. He could easily prove me wrong. I could eat crow on this, and he could go off, continue his preseason. I'm not in love with him like everyone else is. I got a little bit of him even in my season-long draft, but I wasn't reaching for him like a lot of other people were. I got to see it first. I'm not sold on it.
Yeah, another guy down here a lot of people are on is Marvin Jones Jr. I'm not touching the Jacksonville receivers yet.
Yep.
Look, Chenault might be the guy. Everybody's writing off DJ Chark. That was wide receiver one, pre the offseason.
Yep.
Marvin Jones, let's see. Does he gel with Lawrence? Maybe.
Yep.
He's got a good price if he does, but, again, that's another game I just don't trust. And then there's two guys that are down at like $3,000 that I'm definitely going to be sprinkling is Elijah Moore.
Elijah Moore, yep.
Crowder's out for the Jets. Moore should play every snap. At $3,000, I just can't see that guy not getting me value.
Yeah, and look, we run a lot of algorithms on trying to project points per dollar here and the value play. He's a darling, a statistical darling.
Yeah.
Ended up at the top of the list on a lot of our charts. Obviously you got to mix some of the statistics in with understanding the game, having a little bit of a gut feeling there. I like him. I don't know if I love him as much as the statistics do, but at $3,000 in the situation they're in, it's hard to see him not making value.
Yeah.
It is hard, so I like him there.
All right, let's move on to tight ends. And, just like in years past, this is very top-heavy when it comes to tight ends. So, we can look at Kelce. The problem is Kelce at $8,300. He's $2,000 more than George Kittle. Kelce's he's wide receiver one in Kansas City, though. He's an absolute monster, and if you can afford him, by all means, load up Kelce with no kind of hesitation if you got the money left.
Yeah. I agree. You're not going to regret Kelce from a pure return standpoint. It's just where could you spend that money?
Yeah.
If we're breaking down top dogs, I'm not even including Hawkinson in the top just because there's such a price gap. There really is two guys in the top, $6,300 for Kittle, $8,300 for Kelce. Even with that value perspective, I'm still going Kittle.
Yeah, $2,000.
I'd rather save my $2,000 and take Kittle.
Look, Hawkinson is going to get a massive share of the targets in that game because I don't know who their wide receiver one is.
Yeah.
But like we also said, Detroit is very bad. They might just not move the ball at all. Exactly. I'm probably not touching Hawkinson. Goddard scares me. Ertz is actually going to run a lot of routes they're projecting. And, yeah, I'm not sold on that guy being up here at 4,800.
No, for me, a sweet spot is kind of those middle guys, and I got 3 guys, and one is the shining star for me. But I got Logan Thomas at 4,600. I got Kyle Pitts at 4,400, and I got Jonnu Smith at 4,100. Those are my favorite tight ends. Pitts is the guy I'm all over, though. $4,400. We've already said we love that game. There's going to be scoring. And again, I got to be realistic. I'm not one of those guys that loves Pitts. I don't have a lot of Pitts for my season long. I thought he was getting drafted too high. I thought he was already getting projected as a guy that's performed even though he hasn't yet. With that being said, it's a great matchup. It's an athletic guy. Matt Ryan's going to throw the ball. I love his floor, and I love his ceiling. That's why I love him so much. He's easily, because of the matchup, going to get his catches and going to get his yards, and he's going to give you a safe return where you're not mad that you spent $4,400 on him. If he's what everyone thinks he is, if he's that athletic, if he can jump right in that quickly, you're getting an absolute monster at $4,400. So he's my play of the week. At tight end, I'll touch quickly on my other 2 guys. Logan Thomas, I'm sure everyone's heard the news. Curtis Samuel is on the IR. He was already a guy that was projected to have a huge year and a huge upkick. He's going to get a lot of targets, very similarly to Hawkinson, except he's going to be on a better offense. And I think Fitzpatrick's going to get him the ball a little more. So I like him a little bit better than Hawkinson week 1. I love him in terms of getting red zone targets on that team and getting targets. So like Logan Thomas, definitely another guy that has super high floor. I don't think his ceiling's quite as high as Pitts, but he is a safe play to kind of get some return there. Jonnu Smith is just a little bit of a sleeper for me. I don't love his matchup week 1, just like we've been talking about with the Miami-New England game. He's just a guy in general that if Belichick ends up really liking this guy, we've seen Belichick use his tight ends. We've seen Belichick use 2 tight ends. I'm just very impressed with what Jonnu Smith has done with his career, especially with what he's done in the last couple years. He's a really physical guy. He's a great route runner. He's an athletic guy. I'm excited to see what he can do. I just have a weird hunch that he could be the receiver 1 in New England over Jacoby Myers or any of the actual receivers. He might be the main target there. So a little bit of a sleeper pick. I'm going to have him just for the upside. Not quite as safe as the other 2 guys I mentioned, so he's more tournament style for me. I could see him going off, and I think he has a high floor as well. But the other 2 are probably much safer. This is just one I wanted to get out there as a sleeper guy I'm looking at.
Yeah, I'm 100% on Kyle Pitts. I'm going to play him as much as possible. The guy's got high floor and the highest ceiling outside of Kelsey Kittle.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't love Jonnu Smith. Hunter Henry actually playing week 1 kind of, I don't know. I want to see how Bill Belichick uses these guys.
Yep.
I want to see how Mac Jones looks against a pretty good Miami defense. So I'm not going to be playing too much Jonnu Smith. And at $100 more, I'm much more on Tanyan. I think he scored a touchdown last time against New Orleans. There's this, narrative that his touchdown ratio is going to go down because it's so hard to maintain that kind of touchdown. Look, if Aaron Rodgers likes you in the red zone, Aaron Rodgers likes you in the red zone. He's made shitty tight ends look great for years now.
Yeah, sure.
They don't have that many weapons on the outside, so look, Tanyan in a tournament could definitely boom for you. And then one who's just a complete long shot, I just want to bring up his name, Everett in Seattle.
Yeah.
At $3,400, if you need to save some money and you want to take a flyer on the tight end, this guy's an athlete, and Russell Wilson likes to use his tight ends.
Yes.
I could definitely see him stealing a touchdown here.
Another quarterback that's made some no-name tight ends that literally we've never heard their names after they left Seattle.
Exactly.
Catch some touchdowns.
So, very long shot, though. Tournament play only, no cash here. But Gerald Everett could get a touchdown here and definitely make value down at the bottom of the tight ends.
All right. Anybody that you are completely fading for tight end that you think's overpriced?
Goddard.
Yeah.
All day, I'm not touching Goddard. And great matchup. I don't love the guy, man. I know he's tight end 1 there now, but he's not a top dog for me, and you got to pay a premium to get him.
I'll go with 3. Goddard, Hunter Henry, actually, for me. And the reason is not so much, first off, I think Johnny's going to be the main pass catcher there. But two is, why is Hunter Henry $600 more than Johnny Smith and one of the top priced tight ends? He's $4,700. I know he's a talented guy. He was a Charger. I've watched a lot of him. He's injured. We didn't even know if he was going for week 1 for a while there.
Yeah.
No way I'm paying $4,700. And then last is Gesicki.
Yeah, not playing Gesicki.
I hate Gesicki for the whole year, not just today. And
he's not good.
Gesicki's not that good. He was force-fed last year because they had no freaking talent. And all of a sudden this year, they have Waddle, Devontae Parker, and Will Fuller for most of the year.
Miles Gaskins.
They got guys. Gesicki's not going to be a focus of that offense. He might catch a touchdown here and there. The fact that he costs more than Pitts and Tanyan and Johnny Smith and all these guys, it's just wrong. Don't play him.
Yep.
All right, on to defense.
All right. Really quick statement here for defenses. Now, if you're using one of those cheat sheets on these websites that do cost per point, complete dog shit when it comes to defense.
They are.
Look, when they project defensive points, it ranges anywhere from like 8 to 5.2. And we know that's not true. There's going to be a defense that scores 20 this week.
And there's going to be a defense that scores negative.
That scores negative. So if you go on those charts, they take the cheapest defense every time and they tell you it's the best value by far. I've seen the Bengals and the Falcons at the top of every one of those lists.
I was going to say, the Falcons have been getting so much love, and it's because they're projected at
4.5 points and they're $2,000.
Yep.
Neither of those defenses will be on an optimal lineup.
No.
So I know a lot of experts.
You're not saving enough money either.
No, you're not.
You're saving $1,000, whereas a different position for value, you can save $4,000.
Yeah, look, a lot of experts don't touch on defense. They kind of say it's like throwing darts. But look, you can absolutely nail defenses. It's honestly one of the easiest things to predict because you got great defenses, and when they get a primo matchup against a shitty offensive line or something,
yeah, they can absolutely win or lose you
a week. If you get a defense that scores you 20, I mean, you're in the cash.
Exactly.
Guaranteed.
And if you get a defense that scores you 0 or negative,
it can really
doesn't matter that you made up for it. You just lost 10 to 15 points.
Absolutely. So, look, I will want to say we're not looking for defenses that necessarily shut teams down as far as scoring goes. You want defenses that create havoc.
Yep.
Who's got the defensive line that's going to live in the backfield with the quarterback? Strip sacks. Got this guy throwing off his back foot out of the pocket. So for me, we're not going to go through all of them, but there's two defenses that are. I'm only playing two defenses this week.
Yep.
And that's, if I can pay up, it's the 49ers against Detroit.
They're going to dominate them. They're going to keep the score low, plus they're going to get turnovers.
The Detroit ruled out their left tackle. They're starting the rookie at left tackle. He struggled in the preseason against no names.
Yep.
This 49ers defensive line might be second to none.
Yep.
At 4,200, I'll save money somewhere else.
Yeah.
I'm lining them up all day. And then the second one we're both in agreement on. If you need to save some money, they're right in the middle. $3,300, the Denver Broncos.
Yep.
Against Daniel Jones, who likes to hand the ball to the other team more than Saquon.
Mm-hmm. I like them. I think they're going to dominate. Again, similarly to the 49ers, though, I think it's going to be a low-scoring game, so you're not going to get hurt there. And they're a team that's going to ball hawk, be all over the place, turnover, sacks. I like them a lot.
Denver's firing up. Von Miller's back. He's healthy.
Yep.
Bradley Chubb's ready to roll. They drafted Patrick Surtain in the first round. This defense is primed to be top 2, top 3 defense in the league this year.
Yep.
And you're getting them at a discount against, the Giants added some weapons, and everybody's super high on this Giants offense all of a sudden. I'm like, you got to hurt Kenny Golladay, an offensive line that can't stop anything, a rookie receiver who might not play in Tony. I'm rolling out the Broncos. Like I said, if I can afford the Niners, I'm taking them. If not, the Broncos are the must-play for me.
I agree, and that's going to be 90% of my lineups. One other one I'll touch on. Now, granted, when you have the Broncos at 3,300, it's hard to go down, to see the need to go down to 2,900. But I do like the Dolphins, and we've touched on it a million times. That game's going to be low scoring. And then if you watched the Dolphins last year, they forced turnovers. That was where they lived. And they're facing rookie Mac Jones. So it definitely depends on your opinion of Mac Jones and how ready he's going to be. And 2, it depends on how, Belichick teams don't force as many turnovers as other teams. So, risky there. I'm definitely leaning much stronger on the other 2 we mentioned. A little bit of a sleeper there, though. Dolphins at 2,900. They were a team that got a lot of pick sixes, a lot of turnovers last year, and they're facing a rookie here in week 1. So, something to keep an eye on. However, like I said, it's hard for me to justify them when you have the Broncos at 3,300. It's not like the jump from them to the 49ers. It's not a big jump, and Broncos are a much safer
same for me. There. I mean, I looked at Seattle for a minute, but they're $100 more than Denver, and it's just I'd save the $100 and get the better defense.
Exactly.
One thing I want to point out here before we sign off is I want to talk strategy real quick, tournament versus cash.
Yep.
So stacking players, almost mandatory in tournament. You got to have some kind of quarterback, receiver combo because, I mean, what you're hoping for is the highest of upside for your guy.
Yep.
If you're taking a quarterback and you're hoping you get 4 touchdowns from him, somebody's got to catch him.
Yeah, exactly.
And you got to have that guy. So tournaments are like that if world. If X happens, I have to have Y as well.
Yep.
Whereas cash, put the best team you can on paper. I don't care what team they play on.
And be conservative.
Yeah.
The variance.
Raise your floor,
exactly.
Lower your ceiling a little bit, and make the cash every time.
I was going to say, we always talk about the cost per point and the projections and how you can nail that. The truth is, no one can nail the projections. Projections are projections. So a huge, very important thing to consider when you're making your lineup is the variance, which means, okay, here's my projection for this player, but what are the floor and ceiling? And is it a small variance where this is a safe guy, or is it a huge variance where it's going to be boom or bust? Everyone thinks variance is a bad thing. Variance is a great thing when it comes to tournaments because you need to get upside. If he screws you, you can live with that. That's what you need to do. If you have a conservative guy in a tournament, you're not going to win the tournament anyways. So you need variance. It's a popular thing. In money, when we're talking about 50-50s, variance is bad. Yeah. You want conservatives. You want a low variance where you can most accurately predict. Basically, you need to predict what score do I need to get to be in the money? What is the best way I can make the most conservative lineup to get above that score? You want no variance because you're going 50-50. Tournament style is all about variance. Get the best guys that you think for the risk will live up to their variance. And if they don't, live with that. That's your strategy. Eventually it will hit. That's why we play every week. That's why we play multiple lineups. That's how you win a tournament. So that is definitely a little bit of strategy. I feel like there's definitely a mindset thing about variance where people hate boom or bust and people hate that the outcomes could be very different. That is actually an asset in a tournament. You need that to differentiate yourself and to win the tournament.
Yeah, absolutely. Also want to point out we're about 75% into cash games, 25% into tournaments.
Yep.
Build your bankroll. Take your shots for the big one. But yeah, I mean, like Matt said, the bigger the boom, the better for the tournament. Stack your guys. And yeah, thanks you guys for tuning in, man. We're pumped for week 1, and we'll definitely kind of post our results on DraftKings for you guys. Also, tune in. We're going to be doing a betting and player prop episode next. So
exactly, yep. All right, guys. We will see you soon.